Good evening, Dodger fans. Of course, I'm wishing everyone safety out there as we are dealing with some very treacherous times right now. A lot of uncertainty, certainly a lot of fear going around, a lot of devastation. So definitely a special shout out to anyone that's been directly affected, and let me know how I can directly assist you. You are watching or listening to the Incline Dodgers podcast presented by Tick Pick and Fansided. You've got Kevin Klein here riding solo tonight. Couldn't get anyone on board because a lot of my co-hosts and friends are directly affected by these fires taking place right now. So whether it's the Pacific Palisades, Silmar, the Eden Fire, I know La Cañada and Altadena are heavily affected. You've got the Sunset Fire taking place, Studio City, West Hills, Agura Hills, all over LA County. Just awful what's going on. So thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely want to get any of your guys' questions in. Make sure to hit that like button. Any of the likes and subscribes that you guys give me right now will go a long way. Any revenue generated from tonight's show will directly go to any of the foundations you can see below in the description. So LA Fire Department, we've got the Red Cross, Animal Shelter Relief, you name it. We're going to talk a number of Dodger subjects. There is certainly things to talk about. And if anyone's here in the chat, definitely drop your comments, drop your questions, give you guys a shout out, and make sure to hit that like button while you're here. Appreciate everyone tuning in as people start to trickle in. I know that many of you probably won't be able to watch this show live as you may be dealing with power outages or you're in the middle of relocating right now because you could be in an area affected by necessary evacuation warnings. But for those available, thank you guys for watching. Your Los Angeles Dodgers continue to be active this offseason. They made a trade once again today. This one we definitely saw going. It was the Diego Cartaya news. We know that he was designated for assignment a few days ago when they made the Haesung Kim signing, and they found a trade partner. The Minnesota Twins were willing to take on Diego Cartaya. We didn't get a whole lot in return. The Dodgers traded Diego Cartaya, once considered the top prospect in the Dodgers farm system, in the top 100, fell out of the top 100, then had a number of injuries in the minors, made the Dodgers 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft, but never surfaced past AAA, where he struggled in AA, struggled in AAA, and has yet to make a major league appearance. So the Dodgers DFA'd him to make room for Kim. And today we got word that he is being shipped to Minnesota. And in exchange, the Dodgers essentially get a lottery ticket. They get the young 20-year-old right-handed pitcher, Jose Vasquez, who's from the Dominican Republic. And you look at his stats, they're not very attractive. 4.99 ERA in low rookie ball baseball right now. Only 31 innings thrown last season, 45 strikeouts. So there is some K upside there, but he did struggle with control, had a whip of nearly 1.5, signed as an international signing from 2022. This was his second year in low rookie ball. And that will now forever be the legacy of Diego Cartaya. We've got Aaron Attic in the house. Justin Yamas tuning in. He says, "What's up, Kev? Can't sleep right now. 3 a.m. here in Europe. Aaron Attic, me and my family are all safe and doing well during this time in Southern California." Thank you guys for the kind words. Everyone is doing fine over here as well in my neck of the woods, but definitely had some family and friends affected by these fires and wishing everyone safety. I got a QR code in the upper left-hand corner. I think you can see it on YouTube. Anything, if you want to contribute directly to the LAFD, go ahead and do so by scanning that QR code. If you want to drop super chats, all super chats will go directly to the foundations that are looking to fight this fire relief and help provide support to those in need. Everything from tonight's show, whether it's ad revenue, tick pick money, audio streams. We're just going to donate it all because there are a lot of people out there that certainly need help, and I want to do my part and give back to the community. So the more likes, the more people that hit the subscribe button, the more comments we get in this chat, we'll get a live show going, and hopefully it leads to good things. So Diego Cartaya is gone, forever now known as a huge Dodgers bust. I wanted to kind of pull up the Dodgers top prospects from 2022 and give you guys kind of a look of just how things changed. And then we'll talk about the current top 10 Dodgers prospects from Prospectus, Baseball Prospectus. What's up, Craig Osterberg? Thank you for tuning in. So let's share my screen and I will visually talk out loud to kind of give you guys some insight into just how things can rapidly change with Dodgers prospects. So here we are, 2022. He's already on a new team now. You can see Diego Cartaya is part of the Minnesota Twins organization. He was the Dodgers' top prospect in 2022. Bobby Miller was the Dodgers' second best prospect. And my quick thoughts on Bobby Miller: not ready to write him off, would not consider him a bust. Last season was a complete train wreck, and he was a disaster out there on the mound. But I do think give him some time, work on the mechanics. The Dodgers pitching staff, in terms of the development side of things, is one of the best in baseball. And if there's an organization that can get a pitcher right, it's Los Angeles Dodgers. And I'm really hoping that Bobby Miller can stay healthy, get the control of his mechanics, maybe knock off a pitch or two, and maybe develop or improve some of his secondary pitches, get some more movement on that fastball, because he can throw 100 miles per hour, but seemed to struggle really last season, especially with generating whiffs. So one of the things Bobby Miller is going to need to improve upon is definitely generating more strikeouts and getting batters to swing and miss, because his fastball was kind of flat last season and there was a lot of hard contact against him. And it felt like maybe it was a mental lapse, but anytime someone reached on base or hit a solo home run off Bobby Miller, he just completely unraveled. And I think we saw tendencies of that in 2023 as well. So hopefully Bobby Miller can bounce back and be a part of the Dodgers starting rotation. And I definitely think that is part of the plan moving forward for this season. Michael Busch no longer on the team. Andy Pages is on the Dodgers. He should have a bigger role this season. We'll talk about Andy Pages in a little bit. You've got Miguel Vargas, who another big bust in the Dodgers organization. Fortunately, they were able to actually move him for some MLB talent. As you probably know, they got Michael Kopech and Tommy Edman as part of the Miguel Vargas package. So at least the Dodgers were able to salvage something. And those two names I just mentioned were huge parts in the Dodgers World Series title run in 2024. You've got Ryan Pepio, who the Dodgers flipped in exchange for Tyler Glasnow. Ryan Pepio had a really strong season for Tampa Bay, and kind of in hindsight, if there was one Dodgers prospect in terms of the pitchers that maybe we wish we were able to keep, I think Ryan Pepio makes a strong case, because unlike guys like Emmett Sheehan and River Ryan and Kyle Hurt, and the list goes on, you had Ryan and Nick Frasso, you had Ryan Pepio that basically stayed healthy most of the season, though he was limited in 2023 with that lat injury and pretty much missed most of the year until he was able to come back in the very near end and did have some impressive numbers. You got Landon Knack. He is a major league pitcher in the Dodgers system still. Had a number of starts for the team last season, and including some playoff appearances. Eddie's Leonard, huge bust. He's on the Tigers now. Another bust in Yorbit Vivas. He's with the Yankees. Wilman Diaz, still apparently with the Dodgers, but he's no longer a top prospect. You've got Andre Jackson, who I believe has moved on to Japan or Korea. Maddox Bruns, who the Dodgers took in the first round, has not really developed anything yet. Nick Nastrini traded for Lance Lynn. And then guys like Jose Ramos, Clayton Beater, they're gone. So you can see how a lot has changed with the Dodgers farm system. So we'll talk about the Dodgers top 10 prospects now, and maybe some guys to get excited about. Going back to the chat, we've got Dennis Gonzalez tuning in. Thank you, Dennis, for being here. What's up, BC? Thank you guys for both watching the live stream. Appreciate you everyone tuning in, hit that like button, share with your friends, get this chat rolling, ask any questions you may have. So the Dodgers' top 10 prospects, according to Baseball Prospectus, a little different. So Zaire Hope is now the Dodgers' number one prospect, according to this list. They got Hope in exchange for that Michael Busch trade. He's an outfielder. Josue DePaula, big expectations there. Another outfield, maybe first baseman type. He's been a name on fire, rising in the Dodgers system. High expectations for him to hopefully be a contributor maybe in 2026. Dalton Rushing, number 3 prospect. Expectations are Dalton Rushing will appear for the Dodgers and maybe midseason be a factor, play some outfield, backup catcher. We'll see how they incorporate him. But the thought process here is that Dalton Rushing should be major league ready and hopefully can contribute to the Dodgers this upcoming season. Jackson Ferris was the Dodgers minor league pitcher of the year. They got him as well from the Cubs in that Michael Busch trade. Pitching in Double-A, almost Triple-A now. Maybe there's an outside shot he could debut for the Dodgers at some point this season, but he's now the Dodgers' top pitching prospect per this list, and there's a reason to be high on him. Alex Freeland, number 5, another guy, shortstop, could make his major league debut this season. Struggled a little bit in AAA. The power numbers weren't quite there, but the tools and the intangibles suggest that he should be a solid to above average MLB infielder. And so hopefully Alex Freeland can make an impact for the Dodgers at some point this season. Then some younger guys, shortstops in Emil Morales and Joandre Vargas, both shortstop, considered the number 6 and number 7 prospects. Eric Swan, a pitcher. Never really heard his name before, but an aggressive move right there. They've got him ranked 8th. River Ryan, who we saw make a few starts for the Dodgers until he tore his UCL, number 9. And Kyle Hurt, another guy we saw make some appearances for the Dodgers. And again, he is expected to miss probably the entire season, as well as I think he's recovering from a Tommy John surgery. Someone scanned the QR code, so appreciate anyone who did that. Again, drop those questions in the chat. If you've got any thing you want me to cover, you got 50 minutes plus maybe an hour of my time. So please go ahead, ask any questions away as we try to get this live show popping. I want to talk about Gavin Lux in some depth. We've got some arbitration news we're going to discuss as well. We've got some breaking news in terms of Alex Vesia that we'll get to in a few minutes. But you want to talk about Roki Sasaki and the latest with Roki? Still waiting on Roki news to really come out there, but it sounds like they're going to drag this thing out for as long as possible. We may not get a Roki Sasaki decision till approximately January 20th now, per a survey that MLB threw out there. They asked the executives, I guess, or people within the organization, who the 2 favorites are. I believe it was like 43% Dodgers, 38% Padres, 8% Giants, and then the rest was the field. So it's sounding like it's a 2-horse race between the Dodgers and the Padres for Roki Sasaki. I'm still very confident that the Dodgers are going to end up on top and get Roki Sasaki. I just don't think there's any sexiness or appeal to go with San Diego if you're Roki Sasaki. I've seen John Heyman and other reporters mention that both Dylan Cease and Luis Arias could be on the trade market because the Padres are looking to shed payroll. And those are 2 big pieces in the Padres' current organization. And I feel like Arias kind of helped turn their season around. He's a really good hitter, multi batting champion. You've got Dylan Cease, who is a frontline ace type of guy and was able to make all his starts for the Padres last season, throw a no-hitter, was their game 1 starter in the NLDS, started game 4, I believe, or game 4. Yeah, game 4 on 3 days rest because Yu Darvish went game 5. a guy that they just heavily leaned on. And if you get rid of Dylan Cease, you get rid of Arias, they are still unable to afford and re-sign Jerks and Profar. So it's not looking too good for San Diego. So I'm not really sure what the appeal would be for Roki Sasaki to go there unless he's looking to escape the bright lights or he wants to be the face of the franchise type of thing. But I still think if he wants to be a winner, if he wants to learn from the best, become the best, then the Los Angeles Dodgers make way more sense, especially if his goal is to win championships, plural. Gabriel Avila, the Padres are having big family problems right now. Absolutely, there is potentially a messy divorce going on, so I don't see the appeal. I don't know why he would want to sign with the San Diego Padres. So we could talk about Gavin Lux, I guess, right now. In case you didn't know, I am not the biggest Gavin Lux fan. Some may say I'm the biggest Gavin Lux hater out there. And I victory lapped and I got a lot of heat for it, rightfully so. Some of it was well deserved. Some of it maybe not deserved on my end, but in my opinion, if anyone is saying that the Dodgers are a worse team today without Gavin Lux, then I don't know what the hell you're talking about. In my opinion, the Dodgers are now a better team without Gavin Lux in their lineup. The Dodgers didn't need Gavin Lux to win a championship. Some of these people I see out there are acting like Gavin Lux was a big contributor in 2020. That is not the case. Gavin Lux hit 175 in 2020 and didn't play in the NLDS or the World Series. So, yeah, he gets a ring for being a bench warmer, but to act like Gavin Lux was a contributor in 2020, that is just revisionist history. I am sorry. The Dodgers in 2024, I'm well aware Gavin Lux hit the game-tying sac fly in the 8th inning against the New York Yankees, but let's not act like he got a tough pitch to hit. The bases were loaded. Luke Weaver, whoever it was struggling. It was a 3-2 pitch right down the middle. He did the bare minimum of getting a sac fly. The real work was done in the 5th inning when you had everybody getting on base. You had Freddie Freeman drive in 2. You had Teoscar drive in 2. What did Gavin Lux do in that inning? He struck out with the bases loaded. So to act like Gavin Lux was a key component in this Dodgers World Series title run, I don't know what you guys are smoking. The Dodgers in 2025 on paper, now things can backfire with injuries and you can't predict all that stuff. On paper, the Dodgers lineup will be better in 2025 than it was in 2024. The only thing maybe working against the Dodgers this year is that everybody will be a year older. So you may see some regression from Freddie Freeman, regression from Mookie Betts. I don't really expect regression from Shohei Ohtani, but Max Muncy is certainly up there in age. Will Smith, another year at the catching position, could wear him down. But who would you rather have in the infield? Mookie Betts and Gavin Lux or Mookie Betts and Tommy Edman? I think the biggest question right now is Tommy Edman the Dodgers shortstop or is Tommy Edman the Dodgers second baseman? By all looks of things right now, Mookie Betts is still committed to playing the shortstop position. I'm certainly not a big fan of it, and I feel like the opening now with Lux getting traded to Cincinnati opens this door for Mookie Betts to become the second baseman, and I thought that was his goal and vision all along, but apparently he is a little stubborn and has something out there to prove. But if there's anyone that can improve upon a position and dedicate an entire offseason, unlike last year where Mookie Betts literally had to transition to a shortstop right before the regular season began, like we're talking days before the season began. I think this could be an advantage for Mookie Betts. Give him the full offseason to work out at shortstop. And if things don't go the way he's hoping, then you can move him to second base, I suppose. But Tommy Edman, objectively, is just a better hitter than Gavin Lux. Better hitter, better base runner, better fielder. The guy's won Gold Gloves. On top of that, you now have got center field opened, which I think was kind of hinted at us a few days ago at the Teoscar Hernandez press conference when they were kind of sneaky and did not mention Tommy Edman would be the center fielder anymore. Center field will now be kind of a rotation. You've got Andy Pages who I think is going to end up being the Dodgers' everyday center fielder. And you look at Andy Pages versus Gavin Lux, I'm willing to bet that Andy Pages has a better season in 2025 than Gavin Lux will. Gavin Lux will have the advantage of hitting in Cincinnati in a weaker division, but Andy Pages, I think, has the better tools right now. I think he's going to end up being the better hitter. If everything works out accordingly, he could be somewhere between 20 to 25 home runs, maybe 60 to 70 RBIs. I would hope the on base is maybe 320, OPS between 750 and 770. And if Andy Pages is able to pull that together, I'll take that gladly. You give Andy Pages the full offseason to work out, give him the advantage knowing that he's going to be the center fielder. I think this guy's athletic enough to run away with it. I think he'll improve. He was a little shaky last season, but he was also playing in a lot of ballparks that he was unfamiliar with. He's not able to read how the ball is going to fly off the wall. Now he has that experience under his belt. I think Andy Pages will naturally win the center field position from the Dodgers unless they trade for someone outside, but I don't really see that happening at this point. I think there's only one true 26-man roster position player that they're going to add, and that will be Kike Hernandez. That'll happen with time. I don't think they're going to trade for a Luis Robert. I don't think they're going to take a flyer on someone on a one-year deal. I do think they will give it to Andy Pages. I think if he's still on the team, they will let James Outman get a shot in spring training and maybe be a platoon with Andy Pages potentially. But you look at the two head-to-head, Andy Pages might ultimately still be better against right-handed pitching than James Outman would be because, let's face it, the majority of pitchers that the Dodgers are going to face will be right-handed pitchers. So I don't know if it makes sense to have Andy Pages primarily on the bench and have James Outman start over him. But if James Outman can return to 2023 form, that would be a huge advantage for the Dodgers. And I mean, a guy that's already in the system, on the roster, finds a way to get himself back to near MLB true starter level, because that's what James Outman was in 2023. He was a bona fide starter. Then you got something there. The other guy that is going to get some opportunities in center fielder will be Ha-Seong Kim. And what I really like about Kim is I feel like he's going to be the true utility guy. Opens the door now for him because Gavin Lux was basically just a logjam there. He was clogging up the second base position. He had no versatility. It's not like the Dodgers could move him around the infield, couldn't move him to the outfield. That's exactly what you can do with Kim, who's going to be a great contact hitter, has great intangibles, is an elite defender. I think he's going to blossom as a nice shortstop and second base role for the Dodgers. I think he's going to be able to prove himself fielder as well, maybe playing some center field and certainly the corners. So you've got your new Kike, Chris Taylor in Ha-Seong Kim. So really huge ad for the Dodgers. Didn't see it coming, but Kim is going to be just a nice utility piece for the Dodgers. And I'm excited to see what he does in his first year with the organization. Chris Taylor, I'm still uncertain in what they're going to do with him. I'm not fully confident that he'll be back with the Dodgers in 2025. The issue is you probably aren't going to find a team that wants to take on that salary. The Dodgers are going to probably have to kind of do what the Yankees are trying to do with Marcus Stroman right now, which is eat most of that contract to send him elsewhere. But that's another discussion to be had later. We have not really heard many rumors about Chris Taylor's market. In fact, I don't think there is any market right now on Chris Taylor. Another guy that could potentially be moved if they're trying to open up a roster spot, more of a sleeper pick, and I don't expect it to happen, but it's possible the Dodgers could shop Miguel Rojas. Miguel Rojas is a very cheap infielder right now. If a team is looking for a dirt cheap shortstop, well, then you've got that in Miguel Rojas. The other guy that could be shopped, we just talked about him, is James Outman. Also cheap, controllable outfielder. So if a team's looking for a cheap center fielder, you've got something with James Outman. Philip Gomez, how do they not get a shortstop? Mookie isn't a shortstop. Well, I think that's why we would hope Tommy Edman could primarily get the rope at shortstop. He proved last season that he's a decent shortstop. You platoon him with, or not platoon him, but you substitute him when needed with Kim and Rojas, and I think you've got a nice little trio there at the shortstop position, which would cover things. Mookie Betts is going to pretty much be in the lineup every day, and I feel like he'd be more fresh playing second base as opposed to shortstop. So we'll see what they do there. But if I had to guess right now, I don't think the Dodgers are going to add a shortstop this offseason. Could be something they revisit at the trade deadline. But I think Willie Adames was their guy, but the Giants were just willing to pay that guy the bag, and the Dodgers had no interest in matching that. But yeah, Willie Adames would have been a nice fit and certainly a solution. I don't think they're going to trade Bo Bichette, but trade for Bo Bichette. But from the sound of things, it does seem like Bo Bichette is done being a Toronto Blue Jay and has no intention to sign there in the near future. So he could get traded. Maybe it will happen around the trade deadline. We'll see. So some arbitration news. The players that were able to avoid arbitration and get these deals done. We had Evan Phillips agree to a $6.1 million deal with the Dodgers. Anthony Bonda, $1 million deal with the Dodgers. That's a steal. Brusdar Graterol, $2.8 million. Likely won't pitch most of 2025. Michael Kopech getting a nice payday of $5.2 million. And then Alex Vesia and the Dodgers were not able to come to an agreement, and they will go to an arbitration hearing. By the way, things are currently shaping out. So per Fabian Ardaya, Vesia filed for $2.35 million. The Dodgers were at $2.05 million. So that's a $300,000 difference. Vesia was the only arbitration eligible player that the Dodgers couldn't come to an agreement with. I don't have a crystal ball here, but my prediction is I've seen them do it in the past. The Dodgers are going to agree to an extension with Alex Vesia. Maybe they can do a 2 or 3 year extension, buy out some of those arbitration years, and you see Alex Vesia make between $3 to $4 to $5 million AAV. I mean, Alex Vesia was just a beast for the Dodgers last season, and statistically was one of the best left-handed relievers in all of Major League Baseball. He was an absolute force in the postseason as well. Pretty much was flawless. Had a 1.76 ERA, 87 strikeouts. Was just a go-to guy. Only 28, so he should still have a few good years ahead of him. So throwing out the crystal ball take right now, the Dodgers and Alex Vesia are going to agree to an extension. Going back to the chat, and again, I reiterate, if you have questions for me, drop them below in the chat. If there's anything you guys want me to talk about, that's what this live stream is for. Any super chats, all revenue from tonight is going directly to the LA Fire Department. We're going to give some to the Red Cross. We'll give some to animal shelters. You name it. I listed them all in the YouTube description below. So anything that you guys do, even a like button, will go a long way. We've got Craig Osterberg saying that the Dodgers need another starting pitcher. Definitely agree with that take. Hopefully it's Roki Sasaki. If it's not Roki, then I think the Dodgers are going to take a flyer or maybe try to trade for someone. We just saw the San Francisco Giants trade for we just saw the Giants sign Justin Verlander, who's like 42 years old, pretty much washed at this point. I feel like the Giants have the most mid rotation right now. So the San Francisco Giants do not scare me at all going into next season. I think they're going to be pretty pedestrian and not a threat. No Name saying he is so sick of prospects like James Outman, AAA merchant. James Outman did have a really good 2023, but yeah, he definitely took advantage of being in AAA ball, and he's better than the Luke Rayleys and the DJ Peters of the world, or Miguel Vargas even. But yeah, it is frustrating to see a lot of Dodgers prospects tear it up in AAA, hit 30 home runs, have an OPS over 800 or 900, and then the minute they come to LA, they fall flat on their faces, are not able to pan out, and kind of become either DFA candidates or trade bait. Philip Gomez saying trade Alex Vesia. Okay, interesting take. Justin Yamas still predict LA and Vesia agree to some time before the day of the trial. UCLA Lakers, thoughts on Dalton Rushing? I'm excited for Dalton Rushing going into 2025. I think this is one of the players that I'm definitely going to watch out for in spring training. I'm really hoping that they give him plenty of at bats and reps so that he can prove himself. My expectation, though, is that Dalton Rushing will start the year in AAA for the Dodgers since he only played 37 games for Oklahoma City last season. But in that short stint, he really impressed, had an OPS over 900. So I think the expectation right now for Dalton Rushing is let's see what he does in spring training. If there's an injury or someone's underperforming, like Andy Pajes or James Outman, if he's on the team, then you demote them, move them to the bench, and you get Dalton Rushing up there. I expect him to be the first position player to be called up for the Dodgers this upcoming season. I don't even think it's really close. No one else looks relatively ready other than maybe Alex Freeland. But at this point, they're not trading Dalton Rushing. He hopefully doesn't fall in the same tier of Diego Cartaya or Gavin Lux, where we look back in hindsight and say, damn it, we should have traded him while his value was still high. So I'm optimistic, and I expect Dalton Rushing to play for the Dodgers this upcoming season. Lesheva Jones, Vesia is a total stud. Dodgers must keep him. Absolutely agree. No name. Do you really think the Dodgers will repeat in 2025? At the surface level, the Dodgers right now are, from a roster construction standpoint, the best team in baseball. And they got better than they were last season. They added Blake Snell, which is a huge boost to the rotation. You hopefully get Shohei Ohtani to come back in May and be a pivotal part of the rotation all the way through October. Ohtani is basically a 3 ERA pitcher and has been one of the best in the game. So hopefully you get him back in the rotation. You got Yamamoto, who hopefully can stay healthy, and he'll improve and be even better than he was last season. Mentioned Bobby Miller. Hopefully Bobby Miller can return to form and be a contributor in some capacity. You've got Tony Gonsolin, who will probably be a back-end guy and maybe not pitch in the playoffs, but help them in the regular season eat innings. I don't know yet what to expect from Clayton Kershaw. Not very high on him. Hopefully Tyler Glasnow can stay healthy for once, and you have him available for October. And then from the lineup perspective, you got rid of Gavin Lux, so that's a huge win right there. So I do think the Dodgers can repeat. Their biggest foe in the San Diego Padres, I'm expecting huge regression this upcoming season. They desperately needed to add some pitching. They haven't done that yet. They could improve their infield. Looks like they're not doing that yet. Jackson Merrill could take a big leap forward, but Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, all regression candidates. Yu Darvish is another year older, not high on the Padres. The New York Mets potentially could get back to the NLCS and be a threat to the Dodgers. I do believe the Mets did get better, and if there was maybe one team that could get in the Dodgers' way, it's the New York Mets or the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm expecting the D-backs to be a wild card team this season. Still think the Dodgers can beat them. Think the Dodgers could beat the Braves if they were to make the playoffs. The NL Central, no one scares me. Think it's a very weak division. Only got worse. From an AL perspective, I'm liking the Baltimore Orioles. Right now, if I had to pick a team, I would say Baltimore gets the World Series. I think the Yankees took a huge step backwards by losing Juan Soto. I don't think anyone in the AL West is even worth mentioning. And in the AL Central, again, I don't think anyone is really worth mentioning either. So Baltimore, Yankees, only two teams that truly concern me. Maybe Red Sox are sneaky. But yeah, I think the Dodgers are the favorites for a reason, and I'm pretty confident in them right now. UCLA Lakers, love this question. Do you think the Dodgers are still in on Tanner Scott? From what we've heard recently, as of today, it sounds like Tanner Scott's market value may have dropped a little, going from $20 million a year to now potentially $14 to $16 million a year. Still looking for a 4-year contract. I am pretty confident that the Dodgers are going to have some stiff competition for Tanner Scott. I don't think this is going to be a cakewalk signing. I truly believe, and he was on the show recently with Pat Ragazzo, he revealed he was pretty much the first one that said the Mets are in on Tanner Scott. And I do really feel like the Mets are going to be the most aggressive and sign Tanner Scott. They didn't pay a lot of money for any big starting pitchers this offseason, but their president in Stearns had a guy like Josh Hader. And the closest thing to Josh Hader is Tanner Scott. So would not surprise me if they signed Tanner Scott to bolster their bullpen and use that as a tactic to kind of slow down the Dodgers. I think Atlanta's sneaky, and this is maybe where they want to allocate their funds. Or potentially if the Red Sox want to shell out some money, maybe they sign Tanner Scott. My gut feeling is Tanner Scott will not end up signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. My intuition just tells me that the Dodgers feel like they don't need to pay this much for a reliever. Now, they could obviously prove me wrong, and maybe they're much higher on Tanner Scott than I think they are. But historically speaking, the Dodgers just don't pay, with the exception of Kenley Jansen, they don't pay or commit big funds to relief pitchers because of the volatility and just their ability to find guys that no one expects to be huge forces. They just did that last season with Anthony Bonda, who was a huge ad. We talked about how the Dodgers needed a second lefty, and they found a true keeper in Anthony Bonda. So hopefully Bonda can continue what he did last season. If he does, he is going to be that big cog in the bullpen. Evan Phillips was another guy came out of nowhere. They fixed Blake Trinan. They got Brusdar Graterol when the Red Sox didn't want him. So all these guys are not making huge money. They re-signed Blake Trinan, who I think is their most expensive reliever right now. I got some feelers out there, talked to some people that are connected, and this isn't really out there yet, but I'll throw it out there right now. The Dodgers are interested. There is some mutual interest. I don't know how far it's going to go right now, but there is talks of a reunion between the Dodgers and Kenley Jansen, which may offend some people, may not surprise other people, but Kenley Jansen is a free agent. I think the thought process here is Kenley would sign for probably a cheaper deal, maybe a 1 year with some incentives, because Kenley's time in Boston didn't end very well. I think he wants to come back to Southern California. I think he wants to be on a team that can be a World Series contender. Kenley's also chasing saves because he wants to be a Hall of Famer. And the Dodgers still like Kenley. They're high on Kenley. If the price is right, they're going to go with Kenley. Now, when it comes to postseason saves, I think the Dodgers at this point have proven they're willing to adapt and go to a closer by committee. But Kenley Jansen still had a respectable 2024, 3.29 ERA, 3 FIP, 1 WHIP, 62 strikeouts across 55 innings thrown. So I do believe that the interest is real, and I think he's kind of a fallback option if they don't get Tanner Scott. So we'll see what happens with Scott. But I have heard that there is some interest between the Dodgers and Kenley Jansen. Names that I have not heard interest, but I'm really high on Kirby Yates. I would love for Kirby Yates. They tried to sign Kirby Yates in the past, and he went to other teams. They wanted to use him as a reclamation project, and I think he had some setbacks with injuries, and then ultimately was able to regain form with Atlanta and had a really good year with the Rangers. Another guy that I don't know if the Dodgers are one of the teams in on him, but I know that they had some interest in him at this most recent deadline with Carlos Estevez. And I think it was John Heyman reported there's at least half a dozen teams in on them, but I can't confirm if the Dodgers are one of those teams. But I really like this relief market, and I think there's some great names out there. Paul Sewald was a guy that went on foul territory and said he wanted to join the Dodgers. Not a big fan of him, so I don't think he's going to come to Los Angeles. But like I was just saying, I love this market. I think the Dodgers are going to find someone, and they could definitely use one more high leverage arm. With Dennis Gonzalez, with Cartaya gone, where does Fiducia stand? Does he get more playing time? I feel bad for Hunter Fiducia because this guy deserves to be in the big leagues right now. He should be a backup catcher for some pedestrian, mediocre team. And instead, the Dodgers are kind of wasting his time by keeping him in AAA. And he's basically an emergency catcher if there's an injury to Austin Barnes or Will Smith. So for now, the Dodgers, they need to have some minor league depth. at the catching position, but I don't necessarily think they need to keep him on the 40-man roster. They've done it in the past where they've gotten guys like Chris Oakey and Travis Darnode, and I think Austin wins, and they can do that again and find a backup guy out there if they need him for a week and then DFA his ass. So I would hope the Dodgers do fiducia service and trade him. So all off season, I talked about guys that the Dodgers were going to move off the 40-man roster, and I'm reviewing my list because I've brought this up a few times. Ryan Brazier was a name I mentioned. He's still on the team. Michael Grove is still on the team. I do expect the Dodgers to move off of Michael Grove pretty soon. Talked about Brent Honeywell being a DFA option, which ultimately happened. Zach Logue, I said they DFA him because he sucks. That was the case. They DFA'd him. Dustin May, I am much lower on him than most of the other Dodgers fans out there. I am still not a believer in Dustin May being able to stay healthy. I don't think he'd work out in the Dodgers bullpen at all. I don't trust him to stay healthy as a starter. I think give it this offseason. I think the Dodgers are going to move off of Dustin May, who I think has 1 year left on his contract. And I still think the Dodgers are going to trade Dustin May because they want to go with the 6-man rotation. You can't trust him to pitch back-to-back days right now as a reliever, in my opinion. You need guys that are durable, and the reality is Dustin May just isn't that. I talked about Diego Cartaya. I said he was going to be moved this offseason. That's what happened. Hunter Fiducia is on the list. We'll see what happens with him. Gavin Lux, literally said right here with Mookie Betts moving to the infield and Lux being a below average hitter, he's gone. That's exactly what happened. Easiest prediction ever. Dodgers were just done with Gavin Lux. I was done with Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux is not good. He is still a bust at the end of the day, in my opinion. Was basically the top prospect in all of baseball and didn't amount to being more than a slightly below average hitter. And then we'll see what happens with James Outman and Chris Taylor. Elisheva Jones, will the Dodgers re-sign Kike? I'm very confident the Dodgers are going to re-sign Kike. They may have to wait till spring training when some 40-man roster spots open up, but I think that the Dodgers have something really good with Kike Hernandez. He's just a great depth piece, and you can't dismiss his ability to hit in the clutch in October. I don't know if the Dodgers win Game 5 of the NLDS without Kike Hernandez. I mean, ultimately, the Padres scored 0 runs, but Kike's solo home run felt like a 3-run lead for the Dodgers, not a 1-run lead. And you just need a guy that you can trust to get the big hit. And a right-handed bat in Kike, who's supposed to be a platoon guy, taking Yu Darvish deep in what was at the time the biggest game, probably was the biggest game of the year. You can't knock the fact that Kike is just magic in October. I'm going to put him in the very confident to lock it in. Kike will be back with the Dodgers in 2025. We just have to be patient. So as I continue to go through the chat, drop in your guys' questions, hit that like button. If you've got super chats, those will go directly to the fire relief programs, as this entire show is to help out the community. And again, if for those jumping in later and you're looking for some help, reach out to me or reach out to anyone you know that is in this Dodgers community, and we'll do our best to make sure to find you some safety and comfort. And if you've got friends, loved ones out there impacted right now, sending my best wishes, and we're here to help any way we can. BC says, I'll believe Glasnow pitches in October when I see it. Roy Estrada in the house. Aeronatic Super Hernandez bros aren't going anywhere. I mean, both Teoscar and Kike were money. Unlike Justin Turner and Trey Turner, when they were brothers, Teoscar and Kike were just so powerful in the playoffs. We got BC talking about the Rangers. Looks like he's high on Texas. I know they just did sign Jock Peterson last week. Let's see what else we've got. Christopher Navarro, what's going on? Christopher, first time here. I see a lot of Clint Nation and Dodgers Daily in here. Just liked and subscribed. Christopher, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, I'm riding solo. Normally I have guests and co-hosts here. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving the show a chance. Appreciate you. Dennis Gonzalez, no faith in Seattle, Kevin. The Mariners have not spent any money. So no, I do not have any faith in the Seattle Mariners. They're kind of fraudulent. I'm kind of disappointed they're not more aggressive. They need offense and they don't spend. No name, should we trade Banda for prospects? He's at his highest value right now. I would not trade Anthony Banda. I don't think the Dodgers would get a whole lot for him in return anyways. I think he's kind of a system guy, and I would not move off a guy that's very effective. So no, I would not trade him. Another guy that was interviewed, I think credit to Dodgers Beat. They talked to Joe Kelly, or someone talked to Joe Kelly, and he's trying to come back to the Dodgers. And he alluded to the fact, and I don't know how true it is, that there's only one team he'll sign with, and it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. If I'm the Dodgers, I would not sign Joe Kelly to a major league deal at any cost. I wouldn't sign Joe Kelly to a $1 million major league deal. If Joe Kelly wants to prove himself and maybe spend some time down in Oklahoma City, and if there's an injury or two and they need some depth, then you can give Joe Kelly a minor league deal. I can live with that and let him pitch in AAA and call him up if we get some catastrophic injuries. But I am not a fan of the idea of putting Joe Kelly on the 40-man roster right now. I think we're past that point. He's constantly injured too. I don't trust him. UCLA Lakers. What about Ryan Helsley? I love Helsley. I would love for the Dodgers to pull off a move for him. Cardinals Live, who is very in the know, especially with his St. Louis Cardinals, posted something earlier today saying that from what he's hearing, that he expects Helsley to get moved right before spring training. So I don't know if the Dodgers are in on him. I think he'd be a fantastic ad. I just kind of worry with what the Dodgers said a few days ago, that they're more interested in signing a reliever as opposed to trading for a reliever. I'm just not confident right now that they would trade for a guy who's going to be at a high cost right now, but I love him. We got people mad at the fact of bringing back Kenley. We got Christopher Navarro saying sign Kenley to a one-day contract. Fair enough. Alicia Jones, I want Honeywell signed to the Dodgers at AAA. I think that's going to happen. I think Brent Honeywell is going to come back to the Dodgers. They're going to give him the Daniel Hudson-like contract. The facts are that Honeywell just does not have a big market out there, and I'm not sure a team is going to give him that major league guarantee. Honeywell is basically a garbage guy. He's a cleanup guy, and he embraces that role. And I love that attitude. He knows his role. He's a great clubhouse guy, and he's willing to die out there for his teammates. So I'm good with Honeywell coming back. I would love to see it. I think he is that perfect garbage time guy, the mop-up guy that you need in your bullpen. You need a guy, if it's a blowout, one way or the other, whether you're up by a number of runs or you're down by a number of runs, and you need to rest the bullpen, or a starter got shelled or injured and you need someone to just wear it. Honeywell is that guy, and I think the Dodgers need someone like that because he can do it, unlike Michael Grove, who has failed in that role time after time. Michael Grove is supposed to be a garbage time guy, and instead Michael Grove is the garbage and can't get the job done. Then they have to go to another guy because he taxes the bullpen. Sam Kim in the building. Dodgers are an embarrassment of riches. Hubris is the only thing that could derail them. Really good point. I agree with that. Let's see what else we've got. No name. Gavin Lux, terrible at baseball. Screw him. Just going through all this. Let's see what else we've got. Scrolling through the chat. Leshava Jones, I see rumors of potential for the Dodgers to trade Rojas. Sounds ridiculous to me. Thoughts on that? Mentioned it kind of briefly. The facts are the Dodgers are in a roster crunch right now, and if they're not able to move Chris Taylor, and if they're not willing to designate him for assignment, then they might have to make a sacrifice and Miguel Rojas kind of fits that mold. He's a very cheap contract. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that would find some value in him. The Dodgers could flip Rojas potentially for a very low young prospect and hope they get something out of him, because I think Rojas is a free agent to be after this season. Now, I love Rojas from a locker room perspective, but we saw it in this most recent playoffs. The Dodgers did not need Miguel Rojas at all to win the World Series. In fact, it was the opposite. Miguel Rojas hurt this team, and they almost lost the NLDS in particular because Miguel Rojas had a huge lapse on defense. He was not in the NLCS roster. They left him off. They played Kike in favor of him. They had Edman at shortstop. And then in the World Series, Miguel Rojas played at a bare minimum. I think he got a start against Rodon, but they didn't need Miguel Rojas. The reality is he helps pave a path in the regular season. He can certainly make starts. He's a good clubhouse guy. But if we're talking about a World Series, I don't think you need Miguel Rojas to win a World Series championship. But they got to bring back Kike Hernandez. You look at who's on the 26-man, the 13 position players. You've got Ohtani. You've got Betts, Freeman, Teoscar, Muncy, Smith. We'll go with Pages, Edman, and then you've got Kim. Barnes on the bench. Hopefully Kike. And then I'm blanking on who else I'm leaving off. Of course I did that. This is what happens when I don't have the names in front of me. Hopefully, I don't know if Conforto. Yeah, Conforto's recently added. That's 12. And then, I mean, you've got, I think I may have forgotten to say Teoscar. That's your 13th. And then on top of that, they're trying to get rid of Chris Taylor. They're maybe going to have to get rid of James Outman. So it's a roster crunch for sure right now with the Dodgers. Roy Estrada says, Dodger fans, you won't agree, but Ha-Sung Kim and Profar for center field would help the team. Both are fast and hit. Now, I think he's referring to the other Ha-Sung Kim that last played for the Padres. He's an infielder, though, and I don't think he would help for the Dodgers outfield-wise. And Jurickson Profar was playing mostly left field for the Padres. I'm not a fan of Jurickson Profar's attitude. In fact, I think he'd be sending this culture backwards. So I have no interest in bringing in Jurickson, the jerk, Mr. Irrelevant, who's actually not that irrelevant. But you get my point, Profar. Let him play for some irrelevant team like the Rockies again. He can go back there. I do not want Profar on the Dodgers. I am not interested. Christopher Navarro asking, the Sporting News reports that the Dodgers are interested in Sonny Gray. Thoughts on that? I think Sonny Gray would be an excellent consolation prize if the Dodgers are unable to sign Roki Sasaki. Now, the issue with Sonny Gray, though, is he's still got kind of a big contract remaining. He's owed $25 million in 2025. He's owed $35 million in 2026, and he's got a $25 million club option with a $5 million buyout for 2027. Very expensive, but I do think Sonny Gray would be an elite back of the end rotation guy for the Dodgers. I don't know how much interest there really is in Sonny Gray. When I did my offseason wish list, though, I will say Sonny Gray was on that as a flyer, or maybe not a flyer, but a filler in the Dodgers rotation. So I'm neutral, but leaning more yes. Justin Yamas asking, how is Jack Flaherty's market? He wants him back in LA. However, I don't see this team giving him a multi-year deal. I'm actually surprised that there hasn't been more momentum in the Jack Flaherty offseason. I don't expect the Dodgers to bring him back, not because they dislike him. I think what Flaherty is seeking, which is probably 4 to 5 years, is out of the Dodgers stratosphere right now. I don't think they want to commit that many years to a guy. Jack Flaherty has also had some injury issues in the past with the shoulder and the back, and he kind of has some red flags there. If you're looking long-term picture right now, I don't think the Baltimore Orioles are interested in Flaherty either. I think they still have PTSD and hard feelings from him not working out post deadline in 2023. Right now, if I had to guess, because the Giants signed Verlander, I don't think they want him either. He might just go back to Detroit. And so basically the Dodgers or the Tigers would get the Dodgers prospects they acquired, Trey Sweeney and Lorenzo, the catcher, and hopefully they get Jack Flaherty. And that's a nice haul, a win-win for both sides. They get the prospects, they get Flaherty back, and the Dodgers get a World Series because Jack Flaherty absolutely dealt for a few starts for the Dodgers and was a necessity in the regular season second half and in the postseason. Because if they don't have Jack Flaherty on their roster, who the hell is starting game 1 or 2? And the Dodgers might not be World Series champions without Jack Flaherty. But I am a little surprised that Flaherty is still out there. Got some Jack Flaherty hate in the chat. I don't understand that. No Name reminded me how mad I was after game 3 of the NLDS. I do remember calling Miguel Rojas the Hispanic Aaron Carter because he had that stupid bleach blonde hair. And I guess Miguel Rojas, something leaked into his brain after he bleached his hair. I don't know what the hell happened, but he should never bleach his hair again because that was a travesty for Miguel Rojas. Sam Kim says this team is complete. Maybe one high leverage reliever via trade. Man, the Dodgers are so spoiled. They need a starters too. I'm still convinced we are one starter away from really running away with it all. So hopefully it's Roki Sasaki, but I am expecting one high leverage reliever and then one starter. Hopefully his name is Roki Sasaki. I'm going to just, as I'm scrolling through the chat, sending out a reminder to get those questions in. We've got Daniel Berry Sports Highlights tuning in. Thank you, Daniel, for being here. No Name saying Giants fans are the modern equivalent of Yankees fans. I don't think that's a completely valid thing because unlike Giants fans, the New York Yankees actually give a shit about their team. The Giants might be the most fair weather fan base in all of baseball. If the Giants are good, they pretend to care. The minute the Giants are bad, nobody has any interest in baseball. So the difference between the two fan bases is at least the Yankees are all in, good or bad, while the Giants are very fair weather. And I don't even think they know who's on their roster half the time. And they'll go years without tuning in. And the minute the Giants are above 500, they pretend like they care. So I wanted to mention Walker Buehler, who recently came on to, I think it was the Section 10 podcast, affiliated with the Red Sox and I think Underdog Fantasy. But needless to say, they got their first interview with Buehler, and no huge takeaways from the interview other than sounds like Walker Buehler is fired up to joining the Boston Red Sox. He also mentioned that he could see himself being a lifetime Red Sox pitcher. I know he's only on a 1-year deal with potentially a second year. He also threw out there that he's excited to be living on the East Coast again. And I guess he ultimately prefers living on the East Coast. Did grow up in Kentucky, so I guess I can understand his nostalgia there. Then the other thing he mentioned, though, is that the final two teams, it really came down to the Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox, and he leans Red Sox, and I don't blame him. I think Boston is a more appealing franchise and city to play for right now than the Detroit Tigers. But yeah, it's an end of an era. It seems like the Dodgers may have initially had an offer for Buehler and then pulled it early on because it was one of those mutual agreements. It was time to part ways. And so Walker Buehler starts his new journey for the Boston Red Sox. We'll see what happens, but wishing him the best of luck for the Boston Red Sox. Trying to see if there's any other Dodger news out there. Otherwise, I will call for your guys' final questions or chats, or anything. You don't even have, it doesn't even have to be baseball. If you have a general question you want me to answer, I'm here for you. But again, wishing everyone, safety out there. It's been a crazy couple days in Los Angeles. Never seen anything like this. So the impact, the toll that it's taken, it's the costliest natural disaster in LA County history. The tens of thousands of acres that have burned, the thousands of structures. We're talking $50+ billion in damages. This is just unfortunate and just a travesty what's going on in LA. So wishing everyone safety. I know Jake, who couldn't be on the show today, he had to evacuate as well. But yeah, I don't want to get into where anyone's located, but yeah, there are people out there that are unable to be at home right now. I'm sure there's still thousands of you out there without power. But yeah, hopefully these are all this matter and situation is able to get cleaned up and contained sooner rather than later. I know the LA Fire Department is working very hard, and City of LA and these charities and initiatives are doing their best to fund and help out any way possible. So hopefully, hoping for the best. So we got questions from Alicia Jones. Kopech wants to be a starting pitcher again. Will this happen? For this upcoming season, I don't think Michael Kopech will be starting for the Dodgers. I do think, though, that the Dodgers are going to lose Michael Kopech in free agency because he is going to go the path of trying to become a starter. This seems to be a new kind of movement in baseball where guys that had history starting, then went to the bullpen, are going back out there on the market and trying to redeem themselves as starters. We've seen Jordan Hicks do it. We saw Holmes do it. Sounds like Hoffman wants to do it. And Kopech is probably going to fall in that line. So I'm kind of skeptical that the Dodgers can get Kopech back, and he's a Boris client. But for now, enjoy Kopech while he's here. This is not a San Diego podcast per Justin Yamas. However, I want to hear your take on the ownership drama. So let's go back to 2011 when the Dodgers had kind of a similar drama, or maybe it was 2010, with Frank McCourt and his wife who got a divorce. And this divorce was so contentious that McCourt essentially cut all costs, barely would spend on free agency, led to a lack of funding for security guards. People were put in harm's way. There were some bad fights that went down. Eventually, the team was so mediocre that we called for a boycott. Bud Selig had to intervene and basically forced Frank McCourt to take his drama outside of Major League Baseball and sell the team. And I don't know what's going to happen with San Diego, but I do think that this is going down a line of going to be another nasty battle between Seidler's brother and I think his widow. And I don't know what the outcome is going to be in terms of who controls the team. But I think in terms of spending, the Padres are going to have to cut costs. It sounds like online that a lot of Padre fans are already very nervous and kind of have fear that this franchise is going down a negative path. And because of this, that's why I mentioned Cease and Arias are guys that I expect to be traded. And that's going to be a huge blow because they traded a lot to get Dylan Cease, and now they might have to ship him out a year later. Michael King, they're going to an arbitration hearing. Don't know the fair cost of Michael King, but again, Padres are trying to nickel and dime a guy that's going to be a free agent too, and will have to be paid after this upcoming season. So I think the Padres are in a rough spot. I'm low on them now. I think the Diamondbacks are the true biggest threat. Maybe the Padres could still make the playoffs because If they can keep enough chips intact, they have the talent, but I don't think it's going to end very good for San Diego. And maybe the fans deserve it. They're kind of assholes. They're very arrogant, kind of a shitty fan base. But at the same time, I don't think any franchise deserves to go through a phase where their team's not willing to spend money. And I think that's just bad for the game of baseball overall. So I'm hoping for San Diego and for an entertainment and competitive standpoint, they can get this shit figured out sooner rather than later, because the reality is the Dodgers kicked the Padres' ass in this most recent playoffs, and they went on to win the World Series, and they did that in 2020 as well. So that's two times that the Dodgers knocked out the Padres and went on to win a championship, while the Padres beat us once. They have no hardware to show for it. So we're in a position now where we have nothing to prove. We have the most championships in this decade, and the Padres still have zero. So I want to see the Padres put up some type of fight, and let's see if they can actually put their money and their talent where their mouth is. But I'm confident that the Dodgers are here to be reckoned with, and I like our chances repeating, hopefully, in 2025. But you can have the best team on paper. It's about the production and results. No name talking about their history. Okay, fair enough. UCLA Lakers. Do you expect much from Kershaw this year, pending a signing? I don't have high expectations for Klein Kershaw this upcoming year. I hate to say it, but I think this is going to be Clayton Kershaw's last season pitching at the major league level for the Dodgers. I think he goes out, hopefully a 3-time champion for the Dodgers. But after what happened last season in the second half of 2023, it's just hard for me to be optimistic that Clayton Kershaw is going to be playoff caliber worthy. And I mean, we'll see what his velocity looks like. We'll see what he's able to do. If there is one pitcher that can defy all the odds, though, it is Clayton Kershaw. But I just am skeptical that he's going to be able to stay healthy enough for a full season. I think he's going to have to really minimize his starts. He's going to chase the 3,000 strikeouts. I think a best case scenario for Kershaw is he gets maybe 15 starts in this regular season. I'm not expecting him to go over 100 innings. And I don't know if he's going to be good enough to start for the Dodgers in the playoffs, or it's just a thing where the Dodgers are so deep right now that you've got guys like Ohtani, Snell, Yamamoto, maybe Sasaki, maybe Glasnow that are all just better, and you just don't have room for Kershaw on the postseason roster. And I've said it before online, but I don't know if I said it in this chat, or I should say I don't know if I've said it on this show. I've said it in the Discord, which I'm going to share right now, and you should join our Discord feed if you want to talk Dodgers and rumors. But my wish is for the Dodgers to schedule a final last start for Clayton Kershaw in the regular season so that fans know what exhibition or spectacle they're signing up for. I think they could put on an entire tribute for Kershaw. All the memories. You could bring in players, teammates, guys connected to Kershaw, give speeches before, maybe between innings on the video board. But I think this is a great opportunity to really honor Clayton Kershaw if they're able to schedule a final start like they kind of did with Kobe Bryant, and you can put it on national TV, air it everywhere. I think a guy like Clayton Kershaw, there's no one in the sport that deserves this more than Kershaw. So I'm kind of hoping we get something like that where we can tune in and really appreciate whenever it is. It may not even be this year. Maybe he pitches in 2026, but I would love to see a big spectacle for Clayton Kershaw, kind of like that Kevin Costner movie, For the Love of the Game. And maybe they just let Kershaw go out there and rip, no pitch count. If he wants to throw 150 pitches, let him throw 150 pitches and just see whatever the hell happens. So that's where I stand. I want to see that. I like this question from Lasheva Jones. What contract will Dave Roberts get? How many years? I said it to kick off the off season, so I'll say it again. When they get this contract figured out, Dave Roberts will be the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball, and Dave Roberts will make somewhere between 10 to 12 million dollars a year. He's got the best resume out there of all major league managers, and as much as I've bashed him in the past, he really proved himself in 2024. And at this point, he's earned the contract, and the Dodgers owe it to him to make the highest pay manager in baseball. So 5 to 6 years, more than Craig Counsell, who's yet to win anything. So you gotta honor that. Thank you, Dennis Gonzalez, for the update. Las Vegas fire departments are helping right now. Love that. Christopher Navarro, what's your schedule? I'm a new subscriber trying to set my viewing schedule. Good show. Thank you so much for the kind words. In the off season, we're kind of all over the place. Once the regular season starts, we'll try to get some more consistency. Kind of just varies on when news breaks, or we try to get in at least a show once a week. But make sure to follow us on X or Instagram, because we usually announce when we're going live. But you can follow us at the Incline Pod, and I just dropped that below. But thank you for being a fan, Christopher. Appreciate you tuning in. If you, Clint, Casey, DMAC, etc., work together, there's a lot of us that would watch. Never going to work with Clint, but I'm working with DMAC. I talk to him all the time. We're definitely going to try to collaborate soon. I think it's on the horizon, hopefully. Big fan of Doug McCain. He does awesome work for Dodgers Nation. He's one of the best out there, and he knows his stuff. So hoping the Incline and Dodgers Nation and Doug McCain come together soon. Think we would be a powerhouse team. So anyone share that with Doug, let him know. I'm excited. Hopefully Doug gets me on. We'll talk Dodgers baseball, and we'll have a lit show. All right. Well, we're coming up at the hour 15 mark here. So if there's no one else that has any questions or anything else for me to talk about, you go ahead and let anyone know that we're here to help. Again, wishing everyone safety out there. Appreciate everyone tuning in all night long. And what can I say? This is the second best Dodgers offseason in my lifetime. Number one will always be last year when they signed Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Teoscar Hernandez. But this is a strong number two. And my list, my offseason wish list is getting filled up really quickly. I wanted Blake Snell. I was the first one, I think, out here that said Blake Snell should be their target number one. They did that. We didn't fall into the Juan Soto trap. We were always loyal to Teoscar Hernandez. We said he was a no-brainer, must resign. That happened. They brought back Teoscar Hernandez. We talked about needing to re-sign Blake Trinan. The Dodgers pulled that one off as well. We talked about trading Gavin Lux. We're not big Gavin Lux people here. Dodgers granted that wish. They traded Gavin Lux. And the big one remains Roki Sasaki. Hopefully they get Roki coming aboard. I want them to re-sign Kike as well. They got rid of Diego Cartaya, so we'll see what happens. But it's been a fantastic offseason. Your Los Angeles Dodgers, World Series champions. Everyone have a good night. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great week. Stay out there. We'll be back soon. We've got some collaborations coming